okay, that is 100% against the law.
100%.
And it's not happening.
Welcome to the Restrategy Podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Graff, alongside my co-hosts, Shannon Hall and Mark Jarbo. Join us as we lift the veil on the real estate industry and give you the tools to become a more savvy home buyer, seller, agent, and lender. Stay tuned because we're about to lay it all out on the table. All right, episode 3. Man, I am
We're
loving
just rolling through these episodes.
We are, and I'm so enjoying doing this with all of you.
It's fun.
It's a good time.
It is a great time.
Well, here is the lender version of Who You Work With Matters.
As much as the real estate side is important, the lending side is extremely important.
It's what makes it all work.
There you go. Yeah, I understand, people who buy cash, good for them, at the end of the day. It's a great thing to be able to buy cash. But I think majority of America is in the sphere of getting a mortgage. And it's probably one of the most expensive things anybody's going to, be purchasing. It's not cheap by any means.
It's the most expensive thing I've ever bought.
Yeah, me too. Trust me when I tell you.
You had a great agent, though.
I really did. She crushed it.
She really is.
It was Shannon, by the way, for those
yeah.
of you who aren't
It's
catching on.
Really great agent. But it's important to pick the right lender. Picking a lender is going to be based on a couple things. How do you know somebody's seasoned? It's the questions they ask you, how they take your application, the documentation that they're getting from you up front. That is the crucial point of the whole process, the application.
So critical.
It is. The beginning. What are they asking you for? And you'll know very fast the documentation information they're trying to get from you. You're going to feel uncomfortable at moments saying, oh my God, I got to give you all my tax returns. Well, in some cases, yes. You might have to give all of your tax returns. And if you're self-employed, you got to give them your business tax returns. And you got to give your lender the personal tax returns and your W-2s or your 1099s and your pay stubs and so on and so forth. But I put it out there a lot. The most important thing on a mortgage is your income, your assets, and your credit.
Yep.
And if the loan officer is a seasoned loan officer, they're going to know to ask for the correct information. Your income documentation, your assets, meaning what's in your bank account. They're going to have to roll through all of your bank statements to make sure there's no cash deposits to be able to support that money that's there has been seasoned money. We're going to have to review and see if there's any cash deposits in there. And if there is, we have to source them and find out why they were put in the account that way. And if you can't source them, well, you know what? I had mattress money and I stuck it all in my bank account. Well, sorry, can't use it because we can't source it. Yeah. So we're asking for your income. We're asking for your assets. We're also going to be pulling your credit. Credit is the most crucial part, and it could make or break a deal, right? I mean, the income could make or break a deal, but we could work it out to get you approved for how much you can afford.
Right.
On the asset part, we could work it out to work according to how much assets you have, depending on the program you choose. Pulling credit, it's important to know that banks and different institutions have different credit criteria. For us, we can go FHA as low as a 580 credit score, right? Or a 620 on a conventional. Some banks and institutions, credit unions, brokers, all have different credit criteria. For success, we don't have a lot of overlays, right? And what do overlays mean? Overlays are basically what Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Ginnie Mae. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac are the biggest consumers of mortgages in the United States of America. Ginnie
Basically,
Mae,
they provide all the money behind it.
100%. The
Okay.
liquidity and everything, the stability of our country is based on those 3 units, Fannie, Freddie, and Ginnie. Ginnie Mae is the government, which puts out the FHA, VA, and USDA loans. They back them. But now, when we underwrite at my company, we're underwriting right to the guideline of what Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Ginnie Mae is putting out. Other institutions are tacking on different items to what Fannie Mae, Freddie, and Ginnie Mae are saying we're allowed to use.
So when you say tacking on, you mean that they have other what's called overlays.
Overlays, other guidelines.
So other guidelines or criteria
other
that
criteria
that the client would have to meet.
Correct. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Having a seasoned loan officer to be able to fix your issues, whether it's a credit issue, whether it's an income issue, whether it's an asset issue, that's a seasoned loan officer. The seasoned loan officer should also know a lot about the guidelines, their guidelines with their institution. Because if they don't, and there's a guideline that's going to hinder you from getting this loan, well, the loan officer's in his head thinking, well, you know what? I'm going to do every single thing in my power to get this loan through. And he holds on to the loan and holds on to the loan. And we're on like the 11th hour. And then, boom,
They can't close
they
it.
can't close it.
Yeah. We've
So-
had that happen.
Let's just say, well, I went to Mark and Mark didn't give me the best interest rate. And I went to Johnny Joe down the street and he gave me the best interest rate. But Johnny Joe down the street can't close your loan
Yeah.
because he's stuck on the guidelines that his company is adding to the guidelines from the producers of of where this is all going. The ethical practice for a lender, you're not able to do your job for them. Let them go. Let them
Yeah.
find someone else that can help them.
It's really problematic when lenders hang on to
Oh my God.
loans too long,
the worst.
knowing
And
they can't
I
close.
get on a monthly basis, I'll get 2 units a month, 2 consumers that were hung on to till the final minute,
Mhm.
and then I get them
Yeah.
with a 5-day to close.
Right,
type.
because extensions are a request; they're not a given, and
The-
it is
And it's
is
expensive.
A big deal
It's
to
a
get.
cost
Yes.
to the consumer. The extensions are a cost to the consumer. And there's a big myth, or there's a lot of lenders that will make people think that they're confined to them, that they can't go anywhere else.
Yeah,
Not true.
yeah.
Not
Especially
true at
not
all.
right now, because most of the loans that are being written are not refi; they're purchase.
Purchase.
So lenders
And
are
rate, everything is rate sensitive.
It
and
is.
people are looking for the best rates and
They
looking
are.
for the best fees and looking for whatever. At the end of the day, be ethical.
So let me ask you this question, because
Sure.
this is something I get from many, many clients. And of course, the clients are going to ask, well, what lenders should I use if they don't have a banking relationship? And people think that real estate agents are going to tell them who to use because we get some sort of kickback. Okay, that is 100% against the law,
100%.
and it's not happening. I
Nope.
mean, there might be scenarios where it happens, but it certainly doesn't happen like with us, or I don't think the majority of people would ever go down that road. But if I have a client and I say, okay, so here's a guy, his name's Mark Jarbo, you should call him, let him, take a look at it and see what he can do for you.
Right.
And they only hear Mark Jarbo with Success Mortgage, and they just call Success Mortgage. Or if I say, I think this is a new construction deal. This credit union is going to be really good for you. Here's here's the number, but they call
Credit union.
they just call the credit union, and they just get some like junior loan officer who doesn't have the experience. And then they have a bad experience and they think, well, oh gosh, you referred me the wrong people. No, I gave you the number of the person to call. Like, they're not all created alike, even within that organization.
Company, yes, 100%.
So when we're saying this is the person you should call, we do that because we know that you're going to get it closed. We know you're going to get the best rates.
Yep.
We know we are going to be available after 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. You're going to be
Yes.
available on weekends.
That's a big problem too, right there.
Yeah, a lot of
That's
these guys
another
are.
big problem.
Yeah.
I had someone tell me, well, I'm waiting for documents,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I got to wait till tomorrow
Yeah.
to get the documents because, they're on banking hours.
Yeah,
This career is consumer driven.
it is.
A consumer has so many questions. When someone comes to me, it's a 45-minute to 1 hour and 15 or even 1 hour and 25-minute meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I am breaking down item by item, line by line, what the consumer is going to be paying
Mm-hmm.
and receiving. And believe me, people appreciate that. And when somebody calls me at 9 o'clock at night and says, man, I really have this question, it's really bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, what is it? I'm here. I know 9 o'clock at night is ridiculous to call somebody, and I understand it. People have
But
lives.
sometimes, people don't have that. They don't have a choice. They
But
can't
guess
make
what,
calls
guys?
from work.
As a lender, it is your role to make sure your consumer is taken care of. You have those solutions for them when they call you. You know what you're explaining to them when they call you. and the information you're giving them is as accurate as possible.
And I think sometimes there's so much information, it's kind of overload, and
It
consumers
is.
do tend to hear what they want to hear and then not hear what they don't understand, or they don't want to say they don't understand. And I think, like, especially in our industry, we need consumers to be very, very interested in what we're doing for them. And if they don't understand, to ask, not just acquiesce and lay back and say, okay, it'll all work out in the end.
Right.
No, if you don't understand, you need to
You
ask the
need to
questions
understand.
and have it explained until you do.
A seasoned loan officer will really drive it home for people,
Yeah.
because at the end of the conversation, at the end of the meeting, whether it's a phone call, whether it's in person, the consumer should have all the knowledge
Yes.
that they need to perform this mortgage loan scenario.
Absolutely.
And the loan officer should go out of their way. They should make sure that their consumer is ecstatic.
So let me ask you this question. So in your field, say you're going to get licensed in the state of Michigan. How
Okay.
much education do you need to do that?
So if you're in a bank or a credit union, they're under an FDIC type scenario where they don't actually have to get state licensed.
Okay.
They're federally licensed. If you want to become a loan originator at a state level, it's a 20-hour course, and then you have to take a national exam. And then if you want to be licensed in different states, you can apply for those states, and you might have to take like a Con Ed, like a 1-hour Con Ed or a 1-hour test or a course for that state. It just depends which state.
When you started out, do you feel like you had enough education, or did you really learn from the people that were mentoring you directly?
So when I first started, I started in the lead conversion side of the
a tough,
business.
That's a tough business.
And the lender that I had, that I was working for, didn't train,
Mm-hmm.
didn't show you anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hungry, and I learned from my experiences. And I liked it that way. You know, for me, in my company, I have a full-on training. I train my loan officers. I give them the knowledge. I empower them. I show them everything
And you consistently train.
all the time.
Yes. And
All
that's
the
one
time.
thing I like about you.
I have a 6-week training plan when a loan officer comes on.
Mhm.
6-week training plan.
Yeah.
They become a seasoned loan officer. And I can't say, oh, in 6 weeks they can become perfect. No,
Well,
but they actually learn. If
Yeah.
they actually do it, they follow through with the training, and they execute, the longevity for their business will be amazing.
I know you had a mentor when you first started out. I'm
Yes.
sorry, I can't recall her name, who's deceased now.
Yes.
But you have always had just the most wonderful things to say
Yes.
about her. And I think it's really, really important that in your.
Yes. I'm not going to mention her name.
I think you should mention her name
yeah.
because I think it's. Yeah.
I used to work for a bank, and not going to even use the lending institution, but Michelle Grady was the processor there.
Mhm.
And when I came in after the company I was with, that was the second company that I went to, I knew what I knew on the front side, on the sales side. But in order to get to my position today, you really have to know the business.
Mhm.
Equal parts, processing, guidelines, making sure the upfront negotiations are all set. I got to know the backside. And Michelle Grady was one of the most inspirational people for me in my life. She took my growth from this level all the way up. She taught me the way it's supposed to be done. She taught me the back end on the processing. She showed me on the front end what I'm missing. Really was very thorough about how I should go about putting a loan together. And she would say, Jarbo, I'm not touching your file unless it's a one-touch file.
Yeah.
And it was always a one-touch file because she really
Well, she showed
brought
you
it
how
home.
to do it the right way.
Yes.
And I love the fact that you've continued on with that with your LOs
Yes.
too. And like we talked about before, Success Mortgage is very, very much about the success of their LOs.
I
and
have a
their
girl who's
really
been with
strong
me since she was
education.
18 years old.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Okay. Sylvia is,
Hey, girl.
yeah, a
She's
loan
great.
officer and processor.
Yeah.
And she was running my entire operations department at one point. This girl from 18, she's now 22. She is a rock star. She
Mhm.
took everything that I gave her and even enhanced herself
Hmm.
to go further, to learn more.
Okay.
And that's
So
awesome.
If a consumer is looking for an outstanding lender that they're going to have a great experience with, what should they be looking for?
The number one thing is you have to make sure you could trust your lender. How you're going to trust them is by the information given to you and the information taken from you. If you're a consumer, you're going to do your homework. You have to do your due diligence in this because it's, again, the most expensive thing you're ever going to spend money on, mortgage. But you as the consumer should be upfront. You can't hide anything.
Yeah.
Because you cannot.
It's going to be discovered anyway.
It's going to be discovered. The discovery time.
Just be honest about your position.
100%.
Because I think a lot of consumers get freaked out that their credit's not great, or maybe they had a bankruptcy or a short sale or something.
Here's a major one. Your job history.
Yeah.
Okay. If you've had multiple jobs over 2 years,
Yeah.
you need to provide all the W-2s for those jobs and the last pay stub from the last job you had.
Yeah.
You're going to need
Concurrent
4 pay stubs.
pay stubs too,
Yes.
not cherry picking.
Oh, no.
Where you had overtime and bonuses. As
But
opposed
all
to where you
those,
didn't.
when a good loan officer is taking that information, they're asking for it because they're good.
Yeah, and they want to do a good job for you.
100%. So you're going to know that. You're going to feel it. And also, you have to make your best judgment and assessment upon that person and how they're relaying the information back to you.
I think one of the questions that, because here, and I know it's not just in Michigan, but there's companies
Yeah.
like this throughout all 50 states where they are a very high level pre-approval center. And we always say, oh, yeah, you could wipe your ass with their pre-approval because
Yes.
it's as good as toilet paper.
Yes.
And I'm not mentioning any names, but if I'm working with a lender, I don't want to have 5 people touching my file and, now I have to talk to this person and now I'm talking to that
Yes.
person. I just want to go to one person.
Yes.
What goes on behind the scenes, it doesn't really necessarily matter to me as a consumer.
Right.
And that's one thing I love about working with Success because, like, if I need to talk to Slevy, I get her on the phone. And
Yes.
it's like, and my client can call and she picks up her phone and she's
Right
great.
away.
I mean, she's
And she
Yeah.
always calls back if she misses you. Like
Yeah.
within minutes, she's amazing.
she'll answer her phone at 8:00 on a Saturday night. So I think like those kind of lending mills is that
Right.
how I say it. It's just like, yeah, you're just churning
So here's the
people
thing.
through. It's just not even. It's not good.
I'm not saying don't use the big companies. I'm not saying don't use the small guy.
Yeah.
Right. What I'm saying is you must do your due diligence to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Protecting yourself on many levels. What are the fees
Yeah.
going into this? Are you charging me for the interest rate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's another episode that
Yeah,
we're
well,
really
that's-
going to be digging deep and diving into the interest rate and why you get charged points and what is the reason for the points.
And
'Cause
what
those
are
important.
points?
And what are points, But you need to be protected.
Yeah.
Knowing, liking, and trusting the lender that you're working with, it's on many levels. Like I said, taking the application, getting the information from you, give them all the proper documentation because when it goes into the underwriting system, the underwriter is going to fish everything out anyways.
Yeah.
A good seasoned loan officer will have all that documentation and information on the upfront of the application when sending it into the underwriter so that they don't have all that mess.
Yeah, well, the mess is they keep coming back to you, and then
Yeah.
the consumer gets frustrated. Like I've already.
That's
sent
where
that, or
Michelle
why are
Grady
you
would
not-
tell me one-touch file.
That's right, and I
Get
love that.
everything
Build
up
the
front,
file right up front.
Send
so
it in.
Everyone's on the same page.
100%.
And so, what do you want to say to consumers that are maybe upside down a little bit on their credit, or they need some work, or they've got a bankruptcy, a short sale, foreclosure, and they're nervous about buying a home or nervous about having you take that little peek under the hood at their credit? What can you say for people that are in that scenario and need to have the education on what can you do for them and what can they do for themselves?
First, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Let someone look at your stuff. Let someone look at your information that you know, like, and trust.
No one ever solved a problem by avoiding it. Also,
That's
100%.
literally 100%.
rip the
100%.
Band-Aid off and start somewhere.
Start somewhere.
Yeah.
It's
Even if it's
important
embarrassing.
that you're not afraid to let someone look at your information, someone that's good.
Mhm.
And again, reputation is everything.
It is.
To me, reputation is the first part of everything. Go on on loan officers' social medias, see what they do. If you're working with an agent, how many times has that agent used this loan officer? The loan officer should tell them who they are to the consumer.
Mhm.
They should be letting them know, hey, look, here's how many years I've been in this business. Here's what I've done. And here's how I've helped people. I help people with bad credit every single day. I'm not a credit repair specialist by no means, but I've done it so many times.
Mhm.
So I know when looking at somebody's credit profile, how I can help them. What do they need to fix?
And if you can't fix it, you should have the resources to take them somewhere that's going to do it well.
As a
and do it
lender,
quick.
A seasoned lender, someone who's on top of their stuff,
Yeah.
should have resources to help the consumer.
I agree.
The consumer has to protect themselves. And by protecting yourselves means asking the right questions. How long have you been doing this for? How many families have you helped?
Yeah.
Questions that are really crucial and important. And the last thing I'm going to say before I kind of end this is consumers will find out very quickly where their loan is going by someone not following up with them.
Mhm.
When someone doesn't call you to follow up with you, letting you know where your loan is at, what stage is it at, what milestone it's at, you have a big issue.
Yes.
The lender is avoiding you for a reason.
Mhm.
You need to call and find out right away, hey, is this going to get done? Because I haven't got a call.
Yeah.
And the
That's
real
real.
estate agent should also be followed up with. Both sides, listing and buy side. The consumer is the most important person. The fiduciary duty of the loan officer is to the consumer, but also to the realtors. And I know I'm reiterating, I'm kind of
Well, no, I
keep
think
saying it, but
but I think it's
it's
important to
important.
drive
Follow-up
that point
is-
home.
extremely important.
I was talking with one of the lenders that works for Success, Athena, out of Texas.
Yes.
And in Texas, they don't have as many down payment assistance programs as
Right.
we have here. And she said, what you have in Michigan is really unbelievable. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And she said, we just don't have that here. And I really want to be able to really understand more of that. So she's really excited to talk to you about that. Because you're the king of down payment assistance.
my
Like,
God, I
if
love
there's
it.
a program
I love
that can
helping
help
people.
somebody out,
I love it.
yeah, you're the guy.
I love helping consumers.
Yeah, and you do it quickly, and you know what you're talking about. And I think that, and not everybody can get it, but people that certainly can.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw a guy get turned down 7 times
Yes.
for every year after year, 7 consecutive years before he could buy, and he
That's
bought
crazy.
because you made the file work with down payment assistance.
I was really happy for
closing
that
cost
guy.
assistance.
I was really happy for that guy. And
Yeah.
and that is a major thing that loan officers, like, they never cease to amaze me. This guy was approvable.
Yeah.
All you had to do was dig deep into his income.
Well, they don't want to do the work.
They don't
the
wanna do the
file's
work.
too hard.
Yes.
You know, every lender wants the 800 credit score person. Well, that's just not life.
That's not reality.
No, it's not reality,
No.
especially not right now. There's
No.
a lot of people suffering.
Mm-hmm.
At our company, we've worked with many, many lenders throughout the years, and nobody wanted to touch down payment assistance files because it added another layer or two to the file. And I was so excited to meet you and get to know you and know your system because you're like, hey, it's not a problem. I got it. And we've been able to close some of the most difficult
That's my line. I got it.
clients.
I
It
got
is.
you.
I
That's
got
like my
you,
line,
and,
yeah.
and you do. And that's one of the things that I love about working with you and your team. That when you say you got it, you got it, and I don't have to worry about it as from a real estate side. Like I
Yes.
know that if I bring this buyer to the transaction, they have the capacity to close. Mark said he has it, and I know he has it.
Done.
And you've made last year, you made people homeowners for the first time ever at an unbelievable rate. And
Love it.
last year was a really, really difficult
It
year.
was. It
But
was
you had a
difficult.
ton of down payment assistance programs for people, and you were or closing cost assistance for people.
Just remember
and
the
your
file
team's
we
well-versed
had
in
in that we gave $25,000 to a lady in Detroit.
Yeah, yeah.
She
I-
was the happiest
she-
thing on earth that day. It was the most amazing thing on earth.
And she was really coming out of a tough situation,
Oh my
and you
God.
really saved her.
Yeah, those are the stories
Yeah,
that a loan officer should relate to the consumer. Hey, here's what I've done for people. Here's what I can do for you.
Yeah.
Because that person might not care about everybody else, but they care about themselves, the consumer. That one
Yeah.
human being on the other side of the phone or in person, you should really make sure that that person feels special.
yeah. And she worked with one of our agents, April,
Yes.
is just an angel, and
She's
she.
She is
I have to say that all the agents who work for me
amazing.
take it their clients very personally.
Yes.
I
They're
love
beautiful
that
people.
because that's the way it should be. But she drove her to showings because she didn't have a car. Like she
Every
really,
day.
and she did every day.
Yeah.
And it was such a blessing for.
That's what you call a
April,
high
too.
level agent.
She is a high level agent, but it was a blessing for her too
Yep.
because that is how she really loves to show her love and really help people. And that's just a win-win.
And
all
hats
the way
off to
around.
Sylvia. She never gave in on that file,
No,
by
she
the
did
way.
not.
She was like fighting tooth and nail,
She sure did.
you know, and she made it work.
Yeah.
I love
One of our
love
best
stories like
stories.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do want to use this as a moment to plug. If you listening have a story that you want to share, whether it's good,
Yes.
bad, horrific, you'll hear me say it at the end of every episode. We want to know. We want to share your stories on our podcast. We want to armchair quarterback these, talk about things that your lender or your agent could have done differently, could have done smarter.
You know, the biggest thing is for people to reach out to us and tell us about their stories is, you know, that your story just might be the story that can help somebody else
You're right.
Absolutely.
and their situation or have a solution for them.
If you need a place to submit your story, there should be a link in the bio of wherever you're listening, or if you are seeing this on social media, hit us up. We want to know. If you are also looking to submit it online, please go to restrategypod.com. There is a link smack dab in the middle of our page. Click share your story and send us your story. We want to hear from you.
I love it.
Yeah, great.
I hope everybody had a great time listening to this stuff.
Yeah, stay tuned for the next one. We appreciate you.
See you guys.
Thanks for joining us on the Restrategy Pod. You're the reason we make this podcast, and we'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to be featured and have a real estate story to share, good, bad, or horrific, go to restrategypod.com and share your story with us. Until next time.